No one expected the Lorraine show to spiral into chaos that Thursday morning. The audience, as always, was cheerful, sipping their studio coffees and waving at the cameras, waiting for the familiar laughter that usually followed whenever Ricky Gervais appeared. After all, the man was known for his sharp wit, unapologetic humor, and fearless attitude. But that day, things went very differently. Lorraine Kelly sat poised behind her desk, her usual calm smile plastered on her face. The cameras rolled, lights blazed, and the applause faded as she began, "Good morning, everyone. My next guest hardly needs an introduction, comedian, writer, and actor, Ricky Gervais." The crowd clapped enthusiastically as Ricky walked in, his grin wide, hands shoved casually into his black jeans. "Morning, Lorraine. Still making people happy before they've had their coffee, I see," he joked, earning laughter from the audience. For the first 10 minutes, everything went smoothly. They talked about his new comedy tour, his Netflix series, and his love for animals. Lorraine kept her questions light and friendly, as she always did. But then, as she shifted the topic toward one of his more controversial monologues, everything changed. "Ricky," she said, her tone tightening just slightly, "your recent stand-up special has been, let's say, quite divisive. Some viewers said your jokes about politics and religion went too far. Do you ever think about holding back a little?" Ricky chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Lorraine, comedy isn't about holding back. It's about telling the truth, even if it's uncomfortable." "But truth," Lorraine interjected, "isn't always everyone's truth, is it? Some found your comments cruel." That was the spark. The grin on Ricky's face faded into something sharper. "Cruel? You know what's cruel, Lorraine? Pretending to be offended for ratings. People love to act shocked, but they secretly enjoy the honesty. It's hypocrisy disguised as morality." The audience murmured. Lorraine blinked, visibly uncomfortable but determined to keep her composure. "Ricky, this is a morning show. People are having breakfast. Maybe we can tone it down a bit." "Tone it down?" Ricky laughed, shaking his head. "Lorraine, you invited me. What did you expect? Soft jokes about tea and biscuits." The crowd laughed nervously. Lorraine forced a smile, but her producer, watching from the control room, wasn't smiling at all. Trying to steer things back, Lorraine said, "All right, let's keep it light then. Tell us about your charity work." But Ricky wasn't done. "You know, Lorraine, every time someone says, 'keep it light,' what they really mean is, don't say anything real. You can't spend your whole life smiling through the truth." The air in the studio thickened. Lorraine's co-hosts behind the scenes exchanged glances. One of them whispered, "This is going off the rails." Lorraine leaned forward, her patience thinning. "Ricky, maybe this isn't the right platform for that kind of talk." Ricky smirked. "Oh, I think it's exactly the right one. Morning TV could use a bit of honesty. All this fake niceness, it's exhausting." That comment hit hard. Lorraine's smile dropped completely. "Are you calling my show fake?" Ricky looked her straight in the eye. "Not fake, Lorraine, just safe. Too safe. You'd rather serve smiles than sense." A gasp rippled through the audience. The control room buzzed with alarm. "Cut to break," someone yelled. But Lorraine raised a hand, she wanted to handle it herself. "Ricky," she said firmly, "you're crossing a line." He laughed softly. "Lines only exist for people afraid to cross them." And that was it. Lorraine stood up, her tone icy. "I think we're done here. Thank you for coming, Ricky." The producers rushed onto the stage, pretending to smooth things over, but everyone could see what had happened. Ricky stood too, shrugged, and said with a grin, "Guess honesty's not welcome before noon." The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent. The applause sign blinked, but barely anyone followed it. Lorraine turned to the camera, regaining her professional tone. "We'll be right back after a short break." The moment the red light went off, Lorraine exhaled sharply. "Get him out," she muttered to her team. Security escorted Ricky toward the backstage hallway, though he didn't resist. He just kept laughing under his breath. As he reached the exit, one of the crew members said quietly, "You really stirred things up today." Ricky turned, smirked, and replied, "Good. That means they'll remember it." Back in the studio, Lorraine sat in silence for a few moments before going live again. Her co-producer whispered through the earpiece, "We're trending already. It's everywhere." And indeed, within minutes, Twitter exploded. Hashtag Ricky vs Lorraine was the top hashtag. Clips of the argument were circulating with millions of views. Some defended Ricky, calling him brave for speaking truth to fake TV. Others blasted him for being arrogant and disrespectful. Lorraine, maintaining her on-screen calm, carried on with the next segment about pet adoption as if nothing had happened, but her eyes betrayed her frustration. Meanwhile, outside the studio, Ricky lit a cigarette, looked up at the London sky, and muttered, "That went well." He wasn't angry, he was satisfied. For him, it wasn't about controversy. It was about being real in a world that preferred pretense. But neither of them realized that this moment, this fiery altercation, was only the beginning. What followed in the next few days would shake both their careers in ways neither could have predicted. The next morning, London woke up buzzing. Every major tabloid splashed the same headline across their front pages. Ricky Gervais kicked off live TV after clash with Lorraine Kelly. Clips from the show were everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, even late-night US talk shows. Commentators debated whether Ricky had gone too far or if Lorraine had overreacted. It was chaos. Ricky's phone wouldn't stop vibrating. His manager, Dave, called before he even had time for coffee. "Ricky, mate, what the hell happened yesterday?" Ricky chuckled, scrolling through his phone. "Just told the truth, that's all." "Yeah, well, ITV doesn't think it's that funny." They're furious. Lorraine's team wants an official apology. Ricky leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Apologize? For what? Having an opinion." Dave groaned. "You called her show fake." "It is fake." Ricky snapped. "They want me to come on, be polite, crack a few jokes, and leave like a good little puppet. I'm not doing that." Meanwhile, Lorraine was in a different kind of storm. She sat in her dressing room, scrolling through her social media feed. Thousands of comments flooded her posts. Some called her graceful and professional. Others accused her of trying to silence a comedian. Her producer, Karen, entered the room gently. "Lorraine, you've got to let this go. The network's handling it." Lorraine looked up, her usual calm gone. "He embarrassed me, Karen. On my own show. Live. I've interviewed politicians, royalty, Hollywood stars, but no one's ever disrespected me like that." Karen sighed. "I know. But responding publicly will only make it worse." Lorraine hesitated, then nodded. "You're right. I'll let the network speak." But by noon, things escalated again. Ricky posted on X, formerly Twitter. "Greater than, if you invite me to talk, don't act shocked when I actually talk." Hashtag honesty over politeness. Within minutes, his post hit over 1 million likes. The comments were split, half cheering him for exposing fake TV, half calling him rude and arrogant. Lorraine saw the post while sipping her tea. Her hand trembled slightly as she set the cup down. "He's enjoying this," she whispered. That evening, ITV released an official statement. Greater than, the network values open discussion but expects all guests to respect the show's tone and audience. Ricky Gervais will not be appearing on The Lorraine Show again. It should have ended there. But it didn't. The next day, Ricky was invited to appear on a rival talk show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. Of course, he accepted. When Piers introduced him, the audience was buzzing with anticipation. "So, Ricky," Piers began, smirking, "seems like you've shaken up breakfast television. Care to explain yourself?" Ricky grinned. "Nothing to explain, Piers. Lorraine's lovely, but morning TV is built on smiles and scripts." "I don't do scripts." Piers chuckled. "You're saying she's fake. I'm saying she's safe. There's a difference." The clip went viral within hours. Lorraine, watching from home, felt her cheeks flush with anger. She grabbed her phone and called Karen again. "I've had enough of him painting me as fake. Schedule me for Good Morning Britain. I'll speak for myself." The next morning, Lorraine appeared live on GMB, her voice calm but firm. "Look, I respect Ricky's talent. But there's a line between being honest and being unkind. I've built my career on warmth and empathy. That's not fake, it's who I am." Her words were elegant, poised. The audience applauded. But behind her composure, something deeper was brewing, a quiet hurt she couldn't shake. Meanwhile, Ricky watched the segment from his office. For the first time, his grin faltered. "She's good," he muttered to himself. "Too good." Dave looked at him carefully. "You're not going to respond again, right?" Ricky didn't answer. He just stared at the screen. For all his bravado, part of him admired Lorraine's grace. She hadn't insulted him, hadn't shouted, she simply stood her ground with quiet dignity. That night, as the noise of the scandal began to fade, Ricky opened his phone and drafted a new post. He stared at the words for a long time before finally pressing send. Greater than, comedy isn't about tearing people down. It's about truth, and sometimes truth needs kindness, too. No hard feelings, Lorraine. You handled it well. The post stunned everyone. Fans flooded the comments with praise. Lorraine saw it just before bed. She smiled softly, whispering, finally. The following week, ITV quietly reached out to Ricky's team. They didn't invite him back, but they didn't blacklist him either. The dust was settling. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Lorraine's assistant walked into her office, holding a bouquet of white lilies and a handwritten card. Lorraine looked puzzled. Who are these from? The assistant smiled. No name, just this note. Lorraine opened it. The handwriting was unmistakably messy, hurried, but sincere. Greater than, for what it's worth, you were right. Sometimes even the truth needs manners. Lorraine chuckled quietly, shaking her head. He really can't help himself, can he? She placed the flowers on her desk, the tension that had filled her for days finally lifting. Outside her window, the London skyline glowed in the evening light. Somewhere across town, Ricky sat on his balcony with a glass of wine, watching the same skyline. His phone buzzed, a new notification. Lorraine had liked his latest post. He smiled faintly and muttered to himself, maybe not all morning shows are fake after all. For the first time since the altercation, both of them felt at peace. No grudges, no bitterness, just two professionals who had finally learned that sometimes honesty and kindness could coexist. And although the media had already moved on to the next scandal, fans knew they had witnessed something rare. A real moment between two people brave enough to be themselves, even when the cameras were rolling.